We ended up seeing a half-mile wide tornado.
Were there cows?
There were no cows in the tornado that I could
just
see.
checking. Just checking.
Caught a tornado, and we're like, okay,
pancakes.
time to go get some pancakes.
After a tornado, though, that's probably the best.
Yeah.
Okay, now I know. All of this sounds so dangerous.
The whole thing does.
Are you sure Tom Cruise wasn't there? Like, what's going on?
He was Tom Cruise.
Oh, okay.
You're not supposed to tell anyone that. We like helping people.
Mm-hmm.
And if I can do my part to help more people, I'd want to do that.
Hello, and welcome to Good Job New Mexico. I'm Stacey Johnston.
And I'm Carla Melendez. Today we are chatting with Jacob Alexander. He is a meteorologist at Sandia National Laboratories.
There are so many different levels of meteorologist.
I know. He is not in front of a green screen at the news station. So I honestly thought that was the
I
standard.
thought that was it. Meteorologist, that's what you're doing. Or you're reporting in the paper or wherever.
Right, yeah.
Do you check your app every day?
Every day I do. I'm a little bit weather obsessed. Just mini side story. One time I was coming home when I was in high school from work and it was like a blizzard out. I don't even know how I made it home because I drove a Mustang and that's not good for that type of weather. Anyway, I'm covered in snow when I walk into the house and he's watching the Weather Channel and then he looks at me and he's like, "It's snowing?" And I'm like, "You're watching the Weather Channel. Yes, it's snowing." I mean, like, you could just look out the window.
You know, you can't be looking out the window. He actually is an operational meteorologist for the labs. And by that, I mean the Sandia National Labs here in Albuquerque. And he focuses on safety and testing. So climate reports and occasional research projects specializing in wildfire weather. Did you ever know that was a thing?
I didn't, but I mean, again, after speaking with him, it makes total sense. And I really, from the conversation with him, learned about his focus on safety, right? And keeping our firefighters and the first responders safe when it comes to a fire emergency.
For sure. Super important. And he's passionate about it.
Yeah.
So I hope you all enjoy this episode with Jacob and also his really fun, very dangerous stories that he shares with us.
Yes. Oh my gosh. It is dangerous work.
Very. And, he's just been all over the place. And I think he's got a really long, amazing road ahead of him. And he knows exactly where he wants to go. And I have no doubt he's going to get there. But
Absolutely. We're excited to get to see it.
yeah, I appreciate him coming in and sharing what he's done and how he got there and what he looks forward to doing ahead. So without further ado, please enjoy Jacob Alexander.
Thank you for being here.
Thank you for having me. Happy to be here.
I'm so excited for everybody to hear about your occupation. Like, have you ever heard this to you directly that you may be the most interesting man alive?
No, I have not heard that. I mean,
It's a first for everything.
Yeah.
There really is. I think after that, people will definitely start calling you that because it's from what you do is so beyond what I thought meteorologist, when you think of like a traditional occupation, way more than what I thought. So I can't wait for you to share with everybody exactly what you do.
well, thank you.
But before we get too into, meteorology and whatnot, can you talk a little bit about your background, where you're from? Are you from New Mexico?
I'm not originally from New Mexico.
Okay, where are you from?
I'm originally from the all-right state of Illinois. I lived there for about 18 years. Then after I graduated high school, moved out to Colorado, went to CU Boulder, got my undergrad in atmospheric and oceanic sciences. After that, I lived in Boston. I lived in Tennessee. Oh my goodness, I don't even know. So many places. Been all around and moved here about 4 years ago.
And
So,
did you move here for work? Like, what
I
drew
did.
you to our wonderful state?
Well, Sandia Labs, being the well-known place that it is, they actually recruited me and were like, "Hey, so we're really interested in having you. We're down a person as a meteorologist and want you to come out here." And they offered me a good amount, and we're like, "All right, I guess that's enough to move
That
from
never hurts.
Nashville to here."
Right? Yeah,
so,
that doesn't hurt. Yeah.
Yeah.
Plus, New Mexico is beautiful, right?
It
So
does. Yeah. It has its beautiful places. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Did you know from a young age that that's what you wanted?
So I actually wasn't certain. When I actually was a freshman in college, I was going for engineering because everyone was like, "Oh, you're smart. You should be an engineer." And so by the time I got to college, I was like, I guess I'll do engineering. We had these rap programs, which is a residential academic program inside our dorms. And one of the classes available was a meteorology class. And I was like, oh, that might be interesting. And ever since I was a little kid, I used to just lay in the grass, look at thunderstorms, and just kind of enjoy the rain and the magic behind severe weather. One of my favorite shows growing up was even Storm Chasers. But after I took that first class in meteorology, I was like, oh, I guess I could do this as a job. So I just was like, all right, no more engineering. I've had enough of all these ridiculous calculus and physics classes that aren't associated with weather, and see where it goes from there.
Were there any like pivotal moments, do you think, like in your early career that just solidified your decision to study meteorology?
Honestly, ever since I was little, one of like my all-time goals in life was to chase tornadoes.
Oh, okay.
What sparked that? Was it a movie?
No, it actually wasn't a movie. It wasn't the movie Twister, if that's what you're thinking. But in grad school, we actually had an opportunity to just take 2 weeks and just go chase tornado. And that was considered a field studies class.
What?
You got credit for chasing tornadoes.
Yes.
Was it credit because you came back to class alive?
It's pass or fail, and like fail's just not.
Well, we didn't go into the tornado, so.
But did you find some?
Yeah, we had some pretty good ones.
Oh my God, tell us about it.
Yeah, one of the most memorable ones was actually, it was considered an EF2, so I don't know if you guys know the scale of tornadoes at all. But
only from Twister. Only from Twister, that's my knowledge.
So they used to be measured off of the Fujita scale, so the F scale, and now they switched it to the enhanced Fujita scale. It's no longer associated with just wind speed. It's associated more with like damage it does.
Oh, okay.
We ended up seeing a half-mile wide tornado that was 125 miles an hour. I want to say it was like half a mile from us.
Oh my God.
Were there cows?
There were no cows in the tornado that I could
just
see.
checking. Just checking.
That's probably the scariest part of the movie.
For sure, but just to be that close, I mean, what an adrenaline rush.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, I've always been a huge adrenaline junkie, and that's definitely the biggest high I've ever had from it. And definitely one of those times where it's like, can't sleep for a couple days.
Right.
And also, at least at Mississippi State, whenever you catch a tornado, the joke is, oh, time to go get some pancakes. So
it's always time for pancakes. I mean, why not?
But after a tornado, though, that's probably the best time.
Yeah.
Okay, now I know.
So I've been told.
Yeah. Well, did you go get pancakes afterwards?
Yeah, we would always stop at IHOP after a good time, and we caught a tornado, and we're like, okay,
pancakes.
Time to go get some pancakes.
That's so fun.
But like regular ones, or like blueberry or banana?
I'm kind of basic. I like the regular.
The regular with like the maple syrup.
Yeah. I like some fruit on top.
Okay, yeah.
But not always mixed in with the pancake.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah.
Well, that's scary, but for you, that's exactly what you wanted to kind of continue on that path for your career then.
Absolutely.
Oh my gosh. That would have, for me, it would have been like, nope, I'm done. That's it. I am going to go be an accountant.
Before we get to your position that you have here in New Mexico, I want to talk a little bit about Utah and smokestacks, because that sounds like a really interesting story.
Okay. Yeah, absolutely. So one of my first jobs after college was I worked on top of smokestacks. Not the most exhilarating job.
I mean, how do you apply for that? What do you do exactly?
It was actually something that they asked me for. They were looking for new people out of college, and were like, hey, would you want to be an environmental science kind of job? Because that was my major in undergrad, was environmental science. And there was one time in Layton, Utah, we were at a waste management site and measuring the pollutants out of the smokestack. And beautiful day at first. We saw some cool F-35 Lightning jets flying around, and just lots of planes up in the air. And then all of a sudden they were all down. We're like, huh, okay. Wonder if they were done for the day. Watched some clouds roll in, and not too much longer, there was a tornado that hit a few miles down the road.
Oh my gosh.
We were on top of a 60-foot smokestack at the time. most of our gear was just being tossed around. I remember having a hat on and it got launched off the smokestack.
Oh my
It's
god.
like, oh, darn, I actually like that hat.
That wasn't
But-
like, okay, that's my sign. I
Right.
gotta go now.
We're like, and quickly trotted. Don't want to say we were running on top of a smokestack. we were
All of this sounds so dangerous.
The whole thing does.
Are you sure Tom Cruise wasn't there? Like,
I
what's
mean-
going on?
He was Tom Cruise.
Oh, okay.
Shh, you're not supposed to tell anyone that. Got down that night. We're trying to find a place to eat, but every place besides a McDonald's was closed because power was out everywhere.
But you
and-
needed pancakes.
Yeah.
and we didn't have any pancakes.
Except
There was no
McDonald's.
IHOP there that was
What?
open.
How
Yeah.
rude.
So a little tragic.
Oh
But,
my gosh.
Yeah,
That's so scary, but everyone was okay.
everyone was okay.
Yep.
Yeah.
Were you in that position when you got recruited from the labs?
No.
Okay.
No, it was not. I've had a lot of jobs since then. After I did that, I switched over and started working for Boulder County Parks and Open Space.
Mhm.
And basically there, I was a forestry technician and a wildland firefighter.
Okay.
After I did that for a while, switched over to FM Global, where I was an intern over there after I just finished grad school. And I was their natural hazards research intern. Switched over to a NEPA specialist, so National Environmental Policy Act.
Okay.
Yeah. And I worked for TDOT, so Tennessee Department of Transportation. And before I actually got that job, I interviewed over at Sandia out here after a 7-month waiting period.
Oh my god.
They're like, hey, so we're actually interested, but we've been on a hiring freeze for
Oh,
an
yeah.
extended period
gotcha.
of time.
Is this your first time being recruited?
Yeah.
I think it's so
basically.
flattering.
Yeah,
Right.
it
Isn't
always
it?
makes you feel good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Amazing.
And it gives you more leverage to negotiate the salary too, right?
Yes,
Yeah.
that is
It's
true.
like, you want me, give me more money.
Yes,
Just
Oh,
a
yeah.
tip for our intern who's sitting here with us.
there you go. Absolutely.
Really cool. Well, so you mentioned earlier about working for Sandia and Kirtland, you have to have a security clearance.
Yep.
Talk to us about what that process was like for you in getting cleared, and were you nervous?
It's funny you ask if I was nervous because, like, yeah, funny enough, I wouldn't say I'm a troublemaker for the most part, but I mean, you always think back and you're like, goodness, what are they gonna dig up on me?
Right.
You're like, I don't think I did anything
Yeah.
wrong,
It's
but
like
like
that one time in 5th grade when the principal called me and they're
Right,
for sure going to
exactly.
find
They're gonna
out.
find out.
Like,
Yeah.
they're gonna find out I went to detention. Like what? Yeah, so they do a lot of rigorous background checks. Make sure you're on top of your financials. They don't want anyone that would be at risk of certain things leaking information.
Gotcha. Yeah. That makes
And
sense.
so yeah, it's pretty rigorous. They talk to your family. You list out a bunch of references. Almost every single one of these in person. And then they talk to your neighbors, ask how long you've lived in certain areas, see if you're a big partier, like how many people you have at your house all the time.
Yikes.
Are you a good neighbor?
Right.
Like all sorts of stuff.
Wow.
And
Yeah,
it's
see, that's where I would get nervous. Not that I'm
Yeah.
a bad neighbor, but like, do my neighbors like me? You know
Yeah.
what I mean? I'm like, I don't know.
Carla
sure
didn't pull
they do.
weeds again
Exactly.
today.
See, I'm like, oh my god, I forgot that one weed.
It's almost like, yay for the job, but like super proud, like I passed my security clearance. Like,
It always
People
makes
like
you feel
me.
really good when you pass it.
for sure, huge
Yeah.
accomplishment.
Yeah.
Well, that's really cool, right? Those are things that like I don't think are talked about often, right?
Mhm.
About like those security clearances, exactly what goes into it. The fact that it's in-person meetings with the people that you know, that's
Mhm.
really in depth.
And is it renewed every 3 years or something?
I can't remember the sequence, but yeah, you do have to like requalify. Kind
That
of
makes
thing.
sense.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I have 0 clearance. I'm okay. I'm secure. I don't know if my neighbors would vouch for me. Just kidding, they would.
In your field also, it's I mean, things are constantly changing, evolving, the softwares, the sciences, all of that. How do you keep kind of in the know of the latest things.
So I'm an AMS member, which is the American Meteorological Society. And every year they have conference, and sometimes we're lucky enough to go to those. Other times we just get our emails and telling us more about what's going on.
Mm-hmm.
So we learn a lot through that. Lots of research papers, looking through those on occasion.
Are you published? Do you write some of those research papers?
I am published with Sandia through one of my grad school dissertations, yes.
Amazing.
Yeah.
That is really cool.
I'm sure it's not dry.
Yeah.
I tried to make it not dry, but it's tough sometimes. I used to always let my mom look over my stuff because I've never been that great with grammar and all that. I try my best. I've learned different ways to become better at it. But there was one time in undergrad where we had to write a current event issue that you could turn into a Shakespeare story. It was wild. But I let my mom read it one time. She's like, "Oh my goodness, you should be a romantic novelist." And I was like,
wow.
"What?" It's like, "Oh, thank you." It makes you feel a little better.
There's your backup career.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
amazing.
What skills do you think someone, who'd be interested in coming into this field, what skills would you say are the most important ones that someone should have?
Curiosity. Because you can't just, you have to be fascinated in what you do.
Mm-hmm.
I know there are a lot of people that settle and have a hard time finding their curiosity.
Right.
But with meteorology, I feel like the best way to basically figure out how to become a forecaster and all that is just to have curiosity, how things work. The thing that helped me, like I said, when I was a little kid, I used to just lay in the grass and look at storms build. And I was like, I wonder how that happens. And so I would just kind of find ways to learn more about it. I mean, you have to be decent at math. You have to understand basic physics. And I mean, some of this stuff, it's not easy, but
Right.
you can get there.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay, there goes meteorology for me. Not good at math.
Cross that one off for me.
Yeah. It helps to have good teachers, though. Whenever you're uncertain, always ask your teachers. They're there to help.
What myths or misconceptions do you think there are out there about meteorologists that you want to set straight on the record?
So when I tell people I'm a meteorologist, sometimes they are like, "Oh, so what do you do during the day?" I'm like, "Oh, no." And they're like, "Don't you just look through a telescope at night and look at rocks in space?" And I was like, "Oh, I mean, I get it. It's a that's a meteor." And I'm like, "Oh, no."
I asked my kid this morning. I was like, he's 10. I was like, what should I ask the meteorologist I'm going to talk today? He's like, well, ask him about space and what it's like when he goes to the moon. And does he collect the rocks up there on the moon? I was like, it's very cute. But no, I'm going to have him listen to this, and he's going to learn so much.
So you don't look at rocks in space.
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah.
Glad
Yeah.
that we're squashing that right
Yes.
now.
However, I will say there are some meteorologists that do what's called space weather.
I guess that makes sense, right? Like solar flares and all those things.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's exactly what they do. But yeah, we don't look at meteors usually.
How about do you get tired of, and I know I'm guilty of this, so I'll apologize now, but do you get tired of people asking you a forecast, for a forecast?
So, I mean,
He's like, how do I answer this nicely?
yeah. I mean, on occasion, sometimes I'm just like, hey, can we just enjoy the nice weather today?
I say because I know I've done it when you guys are playing volleyball and I can see the clouds are building and I'm like, Jake, is it gonna rain?
Yeah. No, honestly, I don't mind it most of the time.
So you're okay, Carla. You
Oh,
keep
Yeah.
asking.
It's okay.
Yeah, you can keep asking. It's
Okay.
okay. Yeah, I mean, there are some times, especially during the weekend, where I just sorry, I didn't look at anything today. I was like, I don't know. I was just gonna take it as it comes. I have my raincoat in my truck.
Just in case,
If
yeah.
anything happens,
You're prepared.
we'll see.
Yeah.
And I mean, most of the time, the rain here never lasts long. So yeah.
What percentage of your time do you feel is in the office type of work versus in the field type of work?
Most of the time, so we do have a field team that I occasionally help out with, but it's more like 70-30, like in the office 70 most
Okay.
of the time. Yeah.
Gotcha. Except for when you're building weather towers.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And is that what you like most about your job? Is that like you never knowing and you're constantly doing something different?
Yeah. I also just forecasting's fun. You kind of feel like a detective. You're like, this, and this is going to lead to this. And I know a lot of people, something I get asked all the time, I guess not asked, but told, is they're like, oh, it must be nice to be a meteorologist. You can be right 20% of the time and still have your job. And I'm like, I mean, there's so many things that go into it. And honestly, if I get my forecast wrong, it could end very poorly. So if I'm right 20% of the time, I would not still have my job. There's so many things that could go wrong. And I mean, most of the time, those like broadcast meteorologists, they have such a wide area that are forecasting that like a 20% chance of rain. Yeah, it will rain, but in 20% of the forecasted area. That's it.
That makes sense. Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's not 20%
So it's
chance of rain, it's 20% of the area.
Yes.
Got it.
Yeah.
That's good to know.
That is good to know.
Yeah.
Jacob, what's next for you in your career? What do you foresee in the next few years for yourself?
So like I said, my specialty being wildfire meteorology, I eventually want to get more into that, more of like an incident meteorologist, or maybe make my way out to the National Interagency Fire Center in Boise
Okay.
and see what I could do to help keep our men and women on the line safe. I mean, my family does a lot for, like my mom being an ER nurse, my dad has EMT, my sister's a physical therapist. We like helping people.
Mm-hmm.
And if I can do my part to help more people, I'd want to do that.
Well, rapid, not so rapid. For funsy questions, and you can take your time answering. But do you have a favorite type of cloud?
Honestly, I kind of like mammatus clouds.
And what are they like?
So mammatus clouds are kind of like bulbous.
Okay.
A bubbly cloud in a way where it like hangs under a cloud.
Okay, gotcha.
Kind of looks like cow's udders. But that's kind of funny.
I'll just say cumulus nimbus. I just learned that from the movie Up. I don't know.
Oh, there you go.
All my knowledge comes from movies.
Cartoons, because of your kiddos.
Cloudy with a chance of meatballs.
Oh, that's a good one.
So work from home or at the office?
Office, 100%. I'm a social person. I don't. Being at home is it.
Right.
My ADHD doesn't let me do anything.
Is your job specifically you have to be at the office?
I don't have to most of the time. However, it's more beneficial to. If something was to happen on base, I have quicker access to direct line of information coming in, especially like weather from our 9 meteorology towers around base. And so that I don't have to have Wi-Fi or anything. I can just get that data directly.
Okay, what's your go-to breakfast?
Go-to breakfast, I like
pancakes.
I do like pancakes. I would say hash browns, either fried or scrambled eggs, some fried sourdough bread.
Your biggest fear or phobia?
I like the ocean, but the ocean is also terrifying to me. I don't like being in a place where I don't feel like an apex predator.
Right. Yeah, that's true. There's scarier
the
things in that.
The fish and all
ocean.
that swim so much faster than I can. So, like, no thanks.
Can you describe your current job using only emojis?
The tornado emoji.
Okay, yeah, that's a
fire
perfect
emoji. And thunderstorm emoji.
Love it.
Yeah.
Yep, those are perfect.
Yeah. There's plenty of weather emojis I found out. It's kind of cool.
Very true.
Yeah.
And red or green?
Green.
All right,
so
that was so fast.
Definitive green.
Green's my favorite color. So.
Oh, there you go. Well, thank you so much, Jacob. Thanks for being here.
Thanks
for chatting with us. And we're excited for everyone to hear all about you and meteorology and the different types. Thank you.
Of course. Thank you for having me.
All right.
Thanks.
Bye.
This has been a New Mexico Department of Workforce Solutions production.
Our producer is Mila Pulaski.
This episode was engineered and mixed by John Sloan.
Theme music is One Fine Day, courtesy of Podcast.co.
Follow the show on social media at GoodJobNM.
For program funding, visit dws.state.nm.us/funding. Goodbye.